welcome to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer. With me today, I have a very special guest. And I always say that, so to change it up, I like to take the person's first name and put an adjective that describes them based on the first letter of their first name at the beginning. So today I have with me, and I think this is a positive adjective, we'll find out, I have gregarious Garner.
Yes, gregarious Garner. That is
Gregarious, how's
that
it
is
going?
me. It's going well. It's going well. I'm just sitting here. I'm staying home because of course I did break my arm on Saturday. So I'm already home, so I might as well.
Yeah. We talked off camera before this, and I was like, this is the Improv Summit Anatomy Edition, because we talked about arthritis and breaking bones.
Yes.
And how parts of your bone can just come out of your arm and just like disappear.
That's always exciting. Actually, that is true. It did chip the bone, and they did show me the X-ray. There was a little empty
missing
space.
Piece.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, where? Because my arm, it's not like it came out. It's in my arm. I'm like, where is it in my arm? I guess it just is hanging out. Hopefully my body breaks it down or something. I don't know how it really works, but
so your arm is gonna be forever shorter, just like by like a half inch.
Yeah, like it seemed like it was a fine place for it to come out of. Like I don't need that shit.
Yeah, sure. Do you even need that arm really? I mean, yeah.
It is my right arm, but I mean, I'll figure it out.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I am right-handed. It is okay, really, so there is some things that are harder to do. Actually, most things like brushing my teeth. I don't want to, get gross, but wipies, getting my wipies on my buttsies. Does it make it less gross? Does it make it less gross?
I inherited a bidet recently. It sounds so weird. I inherited a bidet. I did. It was clean, but it was like a nozzle thing. It wasn't like an actual seat. But I have found that works magical wonders.
That's what I need to get. I need to get a bidet.
It's a good bidet when you have a bidet. Let me tell you.
All right, cool. Well, we made it cutesy. That's, if you make puns and say put an IE at the end of things, it makes it cutesy and not as gross.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I have puns on every episode of the show. So
good, perfect.
Get ready. But let's dive in. It's enough about my punny wit. And let's talk about you, Garner, and your punny wit. And by that, I mean your improv experience. Tell me about your improv background, your improv experience, all that jazz.
It started...
Or all that blues, whatever genre of music you want.
Oh, yeah. Jazzy. I'm not really...
All that country.
Jazz. I'm like, yeah, I like rock, all that alt rock jam. No, so I started in LA, 2013. I think 2014 maybe, but I got an internship at IO West when it existed, and
RIP-IO.
Yeah, that was sad. That was a sad situation. But when it did exist, it was my favorite, and I interned there for. It was probably 2 years I was actually in the internship, or a year and a half. I stayed in the internship past when I had gotten through my classes. I actually ended up taking the program the equivalent of 2 times, although the second time through I just picked and choose like teachers I wanted, like Craig Gakowski and like some of the big names there at IO, or just retaking teachers that I loved like Douglas Serene. And while I was there during this time, I got a little obsessed with improv, and I was there 7 days a week. I literally was either watching a show or in a jam. I got to the point where there was one, I don't know if you knew, like the Cherry Pick. I don't know if you knew about the
TV. Yeah, I did IO. I was an intern for our work study, because intern is a no-no anymore. But I was work study. Yeah, but I was there. I think they were still doing shows, but they were almost like finished, or like they were towards the end of their run, or they had just finished, something like that.
Yeah, so they had this thing that was anybody who wanted to improvise. It was the best jam that existed there. There was many jams. Most of them were like as most people that have been to a jam know, is just like a bunch of people with no experience, or it's really like drunk people or whatever, and it gets really messy. But theirs was the one that you had to like play a raffle, like you put your name in a hat and they picked your name and you got to improvise with them, with these experienced improvisers, and you got you got to be part of a little mini show. Sometimes they'd have guest improvisers that were really talented, and but I went to every single one of their shows, and so eventually one of the players was like, hey, you're here every week, can we just rig the game for you and just make sure that you're always in the jam? So I got to be part of like every single jam, which was just
That's
like
awesome.
it was a huge, yeah, so like it was kind of what all of my experience in the beginning came from, was just jamming every single day I could, watching every good show I could, and just being there every 7 days a week for like 2 or 3 years, probably 2.5 years, I guess. And then eventually I ended up doing improv at like just kind of like doing random shows with teams. I got on one of the IO Herald teams, so I was like technically a cast in a Herald team there, and
What team
just
were you
kind of,
on?
it was called Joyride. So it was technically
Oh, okay.
it was when they did like they tried a tier system. They were like, we'll have main stage teams, Del Close teams, and then loft teams. So I was on the third
Mm-hmm.
tier. I was
Oh, you're
I
on
was
the
in,
left. Okay.
yeah, but I did have Justin Michael Terry as a coach, and I don't know if you know Justin Michael
Yes.
Terry, just the fucking best. He actually was the person who got me into improv, because he was his team Red Door was in the cage match, and that was like the first
Yeah, and I've been trying to
full length.
get both Ryan and Justin on this show, so hello, come on.
Yes,
I also
they
have
got
Ryan's phone number, and he doesn't respond to that text either. So
yeah, they're I mean, there's everybody's trying to get a hold of them because they're just like so talented.
yeah, they're
But
great.
yeah, so I got like to work with him extensively and befriend him through like just going to their shows and stuff. That was really cool. And then I was on the Herald, or that Herald team, and then I was on like some like independent teams that, of course, yeah, they come and go and peter out and stuff. So I got to play all around LA, and then eventually I moved out of LA to Berlin because of political reasons in 2016. I think we can all guess what political reasons. I moved to Berlin, and that's when I started going from like a couple of years in LA with like these high, like these, like the teachers are all 40-year vets and stuff like that, into Berlin, where the scene, there's still a pretty good English speaking improv scene there, but the scene is a lot less experienced. So I actually got the opportunity to start coaching there and doing like jumping in, where I never felt comfortable. I probably would have been doing improv for 10 years and never felt comfortable coaching or teaching, because of the people that I look up to are so much
Sure.
better. But since in Berlin there was a lack of some experience, I got the chance of doing that. Then I moved back to the States because I couldn't figure out visa stuff. And I ended up, now I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I ended up finding myself at a really cool school here. It was opened by Ben Taxi, who is I don't really know where his name is has notoriety, but he's a big name some places. And he ended up hiring me on as a teacher here, and then he had to leave, and then there's like this small little cool school called Stage Santa Fe, which was opened by just a guy who's super passionate about making sure improv exists, and he also wants to learn, but he doesn't have the knowledge or the capabilities of teaching it himself, so he hired on a bunch of teachers, and I'm one of the teachers here now in town at this new school that is just kind of, we just had our first session after the pandemic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so now that's kind of, I'm teaching from Mick Napier's book, Improvise, and I really enjoy his outlook. I got that recommendation from Craig Kikowski, who was like, I reached out to a bunch of my old teachers, and Craig was the one that was nice enough to, Craig and Douglas Serene both got back to me and were like, here, like, these are the books that are a favorite.
Great, I love that.
Yeah.
So kind of looping into that, what I mean, we kind of talked about it, but what do you love about improv? What keeps you wanting to keep continuing improv? The coach, an improviser, a performer. What do you love about that?
I think there's a couple things, and I end up like, I feel like the improvisers rant about this. I even like my I live with my girlfriend, and our first date, I guess I talked about improv, and so she hated me the first date because it seems very cultish and like, but like there's like this thing.
It is.
Yeah, but this, anybody who does you do an improv long enough, you start to interact with the world differently on a day-to-day basis. That's the thing that I think that really was like, I noticed that the way I talk to people changed, the way that I even like, I went from having like a pretty argumentative relationship with my parents to the point where it's the same thing. I learned this from Brian O'Connell, BOC. Like he's like,
BOC, who's been on 3 episodes of this
oh,
show.
perfect. Yeah, he's so good. He's so amazing. And like he's taught me so much, but one of the main things he taught me was like, he's like, I hate arguing so much on stage that I just don't do it. Like he just refuses to argue, and he just like loses arguments. And I started doing that in real life. I was like, I fucking hate arguing. And then like, and I get baited because I have an argumentative spirit, but
Yeah,
for
sure.
the most part, I'm just like, I'm not doing this. We're not arguing. And like it completely changed the relationship I have with my parents, where we haven't argued in, like, there might have been some small ones in the last 2 years, but like in like 2 or 3 years, there's just been no arguments, which is insane from where we went. And like, so I found it just changes communication, because like in the heart of communication, it is all improv. I mean, like, it is all not, there's no script to the way you communicate to people or strangers or whatever. And so that was like the non-performance benefits I found in it, which is, I think, one of the big things about our school that I'm teaching at, is that it's not a lot of performers. Like, I'm kind of teaching the performance track because I do have the most experience at the school, and I am the most experience with the performance side of it. But a lot of the people at our school are teaching just for the sake of, older people being able to think quicker or retain information, or just kind of keep the mental flexibility. So that is like kind of the real world benefits of what make me obsessed with it. And then the other than that, it's like just the amount of fun that I have during a discovery based show, I'll call it, it has overwhelmed any other fun I've had. Like, I can look back, and like some of my better improv shows were more fun than any other thing I've done on this planet. And so it's kind of like the same as like acting, when you like, if you do, it's hard to do it in film, but in like theater, when you come out at the end of the show and you're like, holy crap, that felt like a fever dream. I don't remember actually being in the show. I just kind of fucking got swept away with it. The only difference is, I feel like that experience in theater, I think, is more, I wouldn't call it fun as much as I would call it like profound, or like existentially, like something so important. Like with improv, it's just like pure fun. Like, it's just like you're just like literally laughing and like having this joyous moment, and then afterwards you're like thinking about it for like the next 3 days, being like, dude, that was so fucking fun. And so that's kind of what kept me in it for so long, and then kept me to the point where I'm teaching it, because it's fun to teach too. It's so fun to see when people find that moment of, again, I've kind of inherited some of Mick Napier's ways of thinking about it, and like fear-based improv or discovery-based improv. And so like when you're literally in that discovery mode, where you're sharing the discovery with your scene partner, and you're allowing yourself to like give half ideas. Something I talk about for like opening scenes is like, they come out and say partial, let's like say like the middle of a sentence, and then stop and see what they do with it, and share that ability to like come up with the scene is about. Like teaching that is just as fun almost as doing it.
Sure. Oh, that makes perfect sense. I almost thought of, like, when we're talking about BOC, this was just like something that's stuck in my brain, is he gives a lot of knowledge nuggets, but I chose to put nuggets as a KN, so it matches the word knowledge, so it's a knowledge nuggets.
Oh yeah.
Hashtag trademark TM right here on this show, knowledge nuggets. Anyways, speaking of that, something that caught my interest, I guess piqued my interest, PIQUED, in this conversation, was like how there's just so much improv that you watch, that you coach, and like there's just so much great in it. Are there any scenes that you remember as an improviser, whether it's as a coach, as a teacher, as an improviser, as an audience member, like a good like 2-person scene or like a group scene where you're like, I will never forget this, because whether it taught you something as an improviser, or it's just something that was so funny, or something that was just so well done. Are there any scenes like that to you that stand out?
I guess. Okay, actually, I have two things that I like.
Sure.
Specifically, there was between Ryan and Justin doing Red Door, there was and this, I think there's a many of examples of this, but there was a riddle. They did like a riddle leprechaun thing, and I just
Sure.
remember like it was the first time I kind of I see it as like the next level in improv, because like improv, of course, you're trying to gift and support your scene partner, but they found this next level where they're trying to like throw hurdles at each other, but they throw hurdles in like the way that like they like is like knowing that they're like so good that they can conquer them. And
Hmm.
so like it was like Justin had like labeled Ryan as like uh a a leprechaun that like told backwards riddles. Like something that's so hard, but like Ryan just like conquered it. Like, so he was just like started telling backwards riddles, and then he like threw back another thing at Justin, and it just like watching like that ability of like not, like first of all knowing like exactly how much challenge to throw at each other, and
Mm.
like seeing them conquer that like that is something that always stuck with me as like, and that it literally became like like I have a teammate. We haven't even come up with like a team name yet. We're just like in the middle of getting coached by a fantastic coach, Eric Weiss. And but it's a two-man team. Like literally what I crave in improv is two-man teams because of seeing what they've done with their two-man
Hmm.
team. And then the other, like I think my favorite improv, this has stuck with me, and I tell it to everybody I'm ever teaching or anybody who will listen, just because like I think this is where the heart of improv is, and kind of like a really philosophical way of looking at improv is there was a team, I think it was King 10 I think it was King 10. Anybody who's known IO has probably know King's
Hmm.
10 knows King
Hmm.
10. And I don't remember the name of this improviser, but she was in every show. I saw them I believe it was Wednesday nights. Anybody who's out
Yeah,
there.
10 p.m. I think. Wednesdays
Yeah,
at
10
10.
p.m. at
Or
Wednesday
yeah,
nights.
because
And I
Heyday, it was Heyday and then King 10.
yes. Yeah. And I was there every like once after the first time I saw them, I was there every single show, because I was
Mm.
just like, this is what I want to learn. And this one improviser, she was there every show, and then this show, it was like it was like a remark. I don't remember what the show was about or anything really of details about it, but I remember it being a remarkably good one of their shows. And she was like, in the beginning, she was there when they were like announcing for the team or whatever, and then she went backstage. She never came out. She just kind of sat on the sidelines. You could see her sitting there laughing and like enjoying the show, but never, she didn't even do support work. She did nothing. She didn't speak one line in the show. And afterwards I went up to her and I was like, hey, that was a really, really good show, but you didn't do anything in it, and what's going on? Like, you're usually in the show. And she's like, this show didn't need me. And it just kind of hit me, like she valued the life of this show over her own ego or being in the show, and she just
Hmm.
really, she was just like, this like particular show was better without her. And like, so like in my teaching and talking about like the scene of improv scene or a show, I kind of talk about it as like a life that comes to life, and you have to kind of realize that it is more important than any individual. And like that lesson that she taught me of just being like, sometimes there's going to be a show and your voice is going to only make it like, is only going to be an ego voice, and like actually what you need to do is just enjoy it. Sit back and watch your friends create this thing. You're not needed right now. And like that, I think is such a, again, like such a gem of a lesson that you can learn about, that you can take into improv or performance of any sort, or any art, or just in general life. Like sometimes your job is to sit back and listen.
100%. Because again, improv is a team sport. It's not about being like the funny person, or like it's literally seeing, like when you're on a team, seeing what is needed in that moment. Does it need you? No, then don't jump out there and do it. A lot of times we have two-person scenes where we're like, I want to jump into this scene, so I'm gonna make a third character when I don't really need to be here. And I've seen it happen when I've been in classes and when I've taught classes. It's like, okay, this two-person scene was perfectly fine. What sparked you to jump in? And
Yeah.
the answer is always, oh, I just wanted to like get in there and like do a bit. And it's like, well, so maybe don't do that next time,
Yeah, please
because
do
the scene
not.
was perfectly fine.
Yeah, like it looks so fun. I want to be part of the fun. Like, well, just enjoy the fun. Watch
Yeah,
it and take mental notes that you can add something later.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
But
Exactly.
yes,
Do you have anything, a quick like side note? Do you have anything that you want to plug or pitch or share or
I mean,
promote or?
I would love to promote Stage Santa Fe. If you're in Santa Fe, I don't know if anybody out there is listening to this or will listen to this. It's in Santa Fe. I think that what the owner, his name's Peter Sills, he like it's a kind of a cool thing that he's done because he wants to be better at improv and stuff, and he has stakes in it, but he has made this thing. He pays everybody really well, and he's kind of losing money just because he thinks it's important for improv to exist in Santa Fe, and he's created this school, and he's like hired on artistic voices that aren't his, and he's literally like, I want to be not involved at all. He wants to be just able to, he's like, I want this to be something that exists, and he knows he's not the person to do it other than being the owner slash like where money comes from a little bit. And it's very new, and there's only like what 3 or 4 teachers, but we just got the guy who's coaching me on as the artistic director, and like I'm actually not knowing if I should say that out loud. I'm not sure if that went through. I think it's fine.
If it's not, we can cut it out.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think in general, the thing I want to say is that if you are in the Santa Fe area, if you're in New Mexico, this is a really cool school. We'd love to have you. If you're like, there's so many people in the school that have no improv experience at all. There's people that have some. There's people that have like what I'm there. I have plenty of improv experience, and we're just trying to create a thing that actually makes improv exist in Santa Fe. And more than importantly, my job, what I see as my job there, we're trying to make it so that it's not bad improv that makes somebody see a show and never want to see improv again, which is so easy to have happen, especially in a small town with a bunch of people that don't have a lot of experience. It's like you could go to a show and be like, that was a bunch of people trying to make jokes and not knowing what they're doing on stage. And so my job there is to make sure that there's certain tenets that get passed down to me. I'm trying to make sure that people know when they're making a move based out of like being afraid of being on stage, and or when they're making moves that are simply like, oh, this is figuring this out with somebody else.
Yeah, I love that. Which leads me into my final question of the evening, the reason why the Improv Summit exists. So a lot of times I get people, prior to pandemic, but even now with improv being readily accessible online all over the world, people are like, oh, Spencer, you take a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And they ask it in that exact tone of voice. And generally, I can't answer that question thoroughly because there's a lot of factors that go into answering that question. Now, if someone came up to you and said like, oh, you've done a lot of improv, where should I take improv? What would be like one piece of advice or one tip you'd give to someone to help guide them on their improv journey?
It's hard because like there's so many different ways of taking improv. I would say that like finding a place, and I guess this is going to be hard, but finding a place that does value the scene or the show above the individual. I think I'm trying to think of an easy way to, because there's a million different like outlooks on it. And I've seen the wrong thing be taught a couple, even though there's not really a right or wrong answer in improv. I do think there's a right or wrong answer when teaching improv and some of the lessons you can give. And I think that trying to make it so that it is based on like the whole and not any individual. And then if you're in any area, you got to be watching improv. You got to be partaking in it more than just in a class. It's like improv is like the opposite of what we do in life. It's like we go around thinking about how to protect ourselves, and improv, you need to drop a lot of your instincts and drop a lot of your ego. And I think that's kind of why
You're speaking to my Capricorn for sure.
Yeah.
Capricorn brain.
It's such a valuable thing to be able to do, and I think that it's really good for anybody who's looking into taking improv. I think that it's just don't do it for the comedy, I guess. Like maybe that's the short answer. I found it. Don't do it for the comedy. Don't do it because you want to make an audience laugh. Do it because you want to build something with somebody else, and allow it to be what it wants to be when you do build it.
Or if you're a Capricorn. Just kidding.
Or if you're a Capricorn, just do it.
Just dive in head first.
Yeah,
literally.
don't think.
Get those ram horns out. A Capricorn's a ram. I don't know. Get the rams
Yeah.
out and just, ram horns out and just do it. I say that as someone who's a Capricorn and also an INFJ, so now I'm second guessing everything and I'm like,
Yep. Yep.
ooh. Anyway, Garner, thanks so much for joining me here on the Improv Summit. This has been so wonderful. I did tell you that was the last question I had for you.
Yeah.
But as always on this show, I'm a big liar. And I actually have another question for you.
Okay.
And that question is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
Yeah, I'm down to do some improv. Let's do some improv.
All right, let's do it. All right, we're going to do some improv. What I need from you is the answer to this question. Do you want a location, a relationship, or a word?
Let's get a location.
All right, I'm going to give you two options. You pick the one you want.
All right.
Suggestions are a customer service desk
Okay.
and a carousel.
I like carousel. That's really interesting.
Great. And who would you like to initiate this scene?
I can initiate the scene.
All right. Thank you, carousel.
Yeah. This is just the best first date ever.
It's nice.
It is nice, isn't it? I really like how you let me have the last spot on the carousel. You just walk in next to me just to keep me company.
No, they kind of make me dizzy the up and down. It's probably for the better. I mean, I'm still spinning around, so it really doesn't make much of a difference because it's still the same motion, just a little less on my own time.
You like spinning? Is that like I'm just really excited to get to know you. You know what I mean? Like, so spinning your thing.
I don't like spinning.
You don't? You don't?
No, it's too much. I mean,
Okay.
here's the thing. Like, I mean, I never.
Stillness.
Yeah. I also, now that I'm thinking about it, like, why didn't I just hop on there with you? I mean, is that like too much?
Well, I mean, I think it was. This seems like the up and down. It wasn't happening, and so.
Yeah, I'm a big guy.
Wasn't happening for you. Yeah. It's okay. I really appreciate. I like that you let me be independent. Like so far, that's like.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's fine with me.
Good. Well, so like, so you like doing whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean,
you into like doing what you like a bad boy.
I'm a freeloader, really.
A freeloader. You see like free things. You like.
Yeah.
Oh,
I live my life as a free range, free agent, freeloader. Anything that's free, it's me.
Ooh, I like free agent. I like that. Like you're like a secret. Like you're a secret agent.
I'm not attached to anything.
Ooh, you like unattachment. That's sexy.
I was gonna ask you if it was sexy, but I thought maybe on a first date it was a little too much.
No, I think it's like no, because if you like, sure, maybe if we weren't vibing, but we're obviously vibing, and so like, yeah, no, first date I think it's okay. Like feel sexiness, like we like each other.
Well, just remember I'm a free agent, so I can't get too tied up.
I like when you say tied up.
See. I also realized I could have also been on the carousel. I was just watching this like motion, and then I just sat there and watched it the whole time. Thanks everyone so much for coming to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm Spencer. That's Garner. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.